Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode, we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Dustin Dean, or better known as the Dean of Zen, a mindset and peak performance coach and the founder of Mind Maxed Institute. Through Mind Max, Dustin helps entrepreneurs, leaders, and high performers break free from mental overload, stress, and self-sabotage, and instead builds calm, clarity, and sustainable momentum in both life and business. His work blends mindfulness, performance psychology, and practical execution, making mindset something you use, not just think about. Dustin, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today. Such a pleasure to have you here.
Olivia, the pleasure's mine. Thank you so much for having me on. I've really been looking forward to it. I've watched a lot of your guys' videos and I love what you guys do. So thank you for having me on.
No, thank you for joining me. And I'm excited to dive in and learn more about your journey. So let's do this. With all of my guests, I do actually like to start at the beginning, Dustin. So if you don't mind taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started up Mind Maxed, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Yeah, so I've spent about the last 25 years in healthcare, mainly in psychiatry, specifically child and adolescent psychiatry. Then about I was as a registered nurse. And then about 4 years ago, I went back and I became a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner, which in America is pretty much a psychiatrist. Like I can prescribe medications, do psychotherapy, but I went the nursing route rather than the like actual medical school route. So I was in doing therapy and medication management for about 3 years, and which I love. I love helping. I always joke that like there's no better job than you know providing for your family while you're bringing people hope. And that's what I really liked about therapy and psychiatry in general. But what I noticed is that people were surviving but they weren't thriving. And the way the system set up and everything, like people baseline will therapy gets them stabilized, but it doesn't get them to that next level. And there's so many rules in therapy and everything about, which I get it, but boundaries and like all those things. There's so many stiff regiments that you have to go by that I realized I'm more of a coach than an actual therapist. I like to go on the journey with people. I've had my own struggles. And, in therapy, that's not something you ever bring up. Like, it's not okay most times to cross over at those. But in coaching, you can say, hey, I know this works because I've been through it too. I've coached it, I've experienced it. And that's really what made me. And also my wife is a family life coach. Um, she's been a social worker. She actually was when we met on LinkedIn, which is a cool story. And she was in Toronto, which I think you guys or I know that somebody that reached
Someone
out
is, yeah.
is based in Toronto, or in Ontario, I think.
Yeah, it's Ontario, Canada. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was a social worker there. Now she's a life coach. So now we do coaching together. And then we also developed the Dean of Zen, which is an AI joy optimization coach. Obviously, it's not therapy, but it is my brain fitness approach, I call it, to helping people maximize their joy.
Awesome. I love it. And Dustin, I love your journey so far. I mean, obviously from the start, it was your kind of purpose to help people in life and just bring joy and passion. You can hear that in your voice and just by the way you speak. And I love that you kind of got a family affair going on. Like you and your wife are both in the biz and trying to help people out. That's just so cool. But I really enjoyed, like for me, coaching is a lot more of a positive space in therapy sometimes as well. Like therapy, doing wrong, it has its place and I know its purpose is so strong. But with coaching, I feel like you're always moving towards the future. You've got a goal you're working towards and it's kind of like we're aimed at that. We're not sitting in the rough for too long. So yeah, I appreciate the pivot there. So let's dive into Mindset Max a little bit more then. So like who would you say at this point is your ideal customer? Like who do you really, really love to work with if you could choose them every day? And then from there, how is it help and how do you support them along that journey?
Yeah, well, across the board, anybody that, wants help and is, willing to invest in themselves, like across the board, I want to help anybody. The one thing that's a little bit different with coaching is obviously insurance doesn't cover it and that sort of thing. So it is an investment in you. In my opinion, I always tell people that's the best investment you'll ever make. But so, a lot of my clients are executives, some people who have some fame, have had success, have are looking kind of sometimes for round two. There'll be lots of people that have had startups and have done well, and now they're like, what now? And just kind of going on that journey with, or maybe their significant other has had success and they're like, where's my place in this? So that's a lot of our clients. Like I said, across the board, it is, whoever wants to invest in them. But that's a lot of the people that we've been working with are high achieving individuals. And yeah, that's about my clientele.
Awesome. And it is that part of that with coaching. You sometimes it is making that investment yourself. And if that person's not ready or not in the right mindset, it's like almost as if you have to kind of prove to them that this is the right thing for them sometimes. It's that like, no, no, trust me, until you go through it, it's the best investment you'll ever make. But you can't like kind of say that to people until they've gone through the process and realize that for themselves. Because investing in yourself is there's nothing more important than that. And so what is it like to work with you then, like Dustin? So in terms of like the approach you take, is this more of a one-to-one level, or there may be group or courses that we can follow along? Like what does that side of it look like as well?
Yeah, so we are developing MindMax Brain Fitness Academy, which will have courses and that sort of thing. It's going to be cohorts of 25 with kind of curriculum and live interactive classes once a month, and then follow up. That's being developed. That's not like totally implemented yet, but as of right now, it's a subscription based service. So we meet once a week and for an hour. So hour appointments once a week where we really just go through the brain fitness process, which I like to call it. So that's training your brain to process your life through your power and potential rather than your pain in your past. Just to quickly kind of say, like the base state of our brain is survival. People are always like, why am I anxious? Why am I depressed? Probably because your mind is telling you to look at everything that's going to hurt you to keep you alive. That's the base state, but we have to train it to thrive. Just like working out, we can store energy. How do we store energy? Through fat, right? We eat and eat and eat, but that's not the optimized level for our bodies. We need to work it out. People get it with their body. We need
Yeah.
repetition. There's a little bit of pain, but when it comes to the mind, they don't realize you have to process things through the good because it's automatically going to go to the negative.
That's so true. And it is often overlooked. You know, the brain is the most important muscle in the body, and people never think of that. They never consider that as like the full holistic health and looking at their brain because, like, generally without your brain, your body can't function. So that is a really good
And it
tip.
affects all of it, like your body will not be healthy without an optimized functioning brain.
Exactly that. I love that. And so what would you say like is the typical like or the first challenge or hurdle that people tend to come to you with that you help kind of overcome? What is that initial thing? So,
Well, the initial thing is like, once again, seeing that like they're not broken.
yeah.
Okay, they're just not in shape. Everybody thinks they're broke. Everybody thinks that and for years of operating in fight or flight, or if there's been abuse, there is chemical imbalances and brain structure changes, and there's a lot of those things that medications like are important for, but medications even you out just to be able to thrive.
Yeah.
Okay, or even just survive. Okay, they even you out. They don't get you to that next level. Someone's still going to make you sad. Someone's still going to make you angry, and someone's still going to insult you. Your brain's still going to be afraid that that car that's driving is going to hit you, that dog's going to bite you. You have to teach it to go, no, I'm awesome, I'm strong, not everything is bad. And I
Yeah.
think the interesting thing to show this is, when it comes to money, that's why news and media and all those things are always negative. They know the psychology that
Mhm.
90% of people don't have a trained brain, so they're feeding it that negativity.
Mm.
Okay, instead of looking at the amazingness. So how a first session would go is I always have people start with what's going good in their life, because what happens is usually during a therapy session or a coaching session, everybody wants to dump what's bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once you start down that road, it doesn't stop. All you see, but when you actually have to think, because it takes effort to see what's good. And when you adjust and you look at what's good, the list gets kind of bigger than they probably thought. And it also narrows down what is the actual challenge instead
Yeah.
of every single thing. Because once the brain goes down that fight or flight, you're done. So that's how it starts. And then as I move on, it's coaching. So we have assignments, we work together,
Mm.
we process, and then tied in with it is the Dean of Zen AI. So if during the week, which is trained by me, it was programmed by somebody who really knows what they're doing, as far as it doesn't hallucinate. It's, I spent hours just going through the process like I would be with a coaching client. It recorded, it's even my voice. I don't know if you got a chance to try it out, but it's even my voice. It is solution focused. So what a coaching session will do in, say, an hour, the Dean of Zen should do in about 3 to 5 minutes.
Nuts. Okay, I love that. Really, really cool. So just enhancing your brain is basically what you've done with AI, which is pretty
Yeah,
sick. And
yeah,
then give that out to share to everybody else. And it's also great, I suppose, because when it does come to coaches, challenges, looking within yourself, you never know when sometimes something's going to spark you off and you can't control yourself, or you need to really zen yourself down and be on that level. So having that kind of hand in your pocket and not having to rely on you all the time is another really great aspect. Very, very cool. I do want to get in the nuts and bolts a little bit of the business. So, like, when it comes to marketing and acquiring customers, like, what are you finding is most effective for you at the moment? Like, what channels, what methods are you really finding that working, finding that right person to
Well,
work with?
and that's a lot of my problem, to be honest, is like it hasn't scaled. I haven't found like the ideal marketing
Okay.
technique. I've tried, I have 25,000 followers or something on LinkedIn. I've
Nice.
tried like marketing a lot there. That really hasn't worked. I've recently started TikToks, but I'm old, so like, there's a lot of moving parts with TikTok that like it's cool, it's
Yeah.
amazing tool, but I'm just not the best with that yet. So really the marketing and getting it out there, everybody that tries it loves it, that subscribes, but like a lot of people haven't subscribed.
That's fair enough. And marketing is it's such a trick, you have to really stay on top of it all the time. You have to really know the ins and outs of it. And I feel like a lot of coaches, a lot of like entrepreneurs I speak to, when they come into space without that experience, it is a big challenge for them. TikTok is another minefield. I'm old as well. I can't get my head around posting on there. But LinkedIn is always a really great place to start. Are you kind of like running cold outreach and stuff and just trying to get your message out there as best possible?
Yeah, I recently on TikTok, I recently got recruited by a group called Thunderstruck, though, that has some pretty prevalent like TikTokers. Like there's a lady who impersonates, she's called Mommy RN88, and she impersonates Kamala Harris, and she became like really famous during the elections. So there are like options, but still I just don't know how to navigate the TikTok thing. Yeah.
Yeah, TikTok is just a minefield. I feel like Meta might be a great way to start, like getting people out on Instagram and Facebook is always a nice place. And they're a lot easier platforms to use as well. You haven't got to like faff around with figuring out the gadgets, which is pretty cool. But then is it just you and your wife? Obviously your wife does the coaching and she's kind of in the space as well. Do you guys
Yeah.
work together at home? Do you have kind of support going on as well? Or are you kind of pretty much a solopreneur putting out all the fires, trying to cover everything yourself at the moment?
Yeah. So we're kind of a team, but like, we both also have other full-time jobs. Like this
Yeah.
this is we're kind of bootstrapping it. Like there's no what do they call it, angel investor or anything like that. So I still do, which I am proud, I still do therapy and medication management, but I just like, this is kind of my passion, and I think this is
Nice.
like the next step in my evolution and the
Yeah.
evolution of where things need to go. But so yeah, it's just kind of us doing it without at one point, I've tried looking at some marketing options and stuff, and nothing's really just turned out. It's hard to narrow it down to
Yeah.
what actually is going to get results.
Yeah, I think the key for it is being authentic online, putting yourself out there is half of it. It's a lot easier said than being done as well. But just position yourself with that specialist, in your field, making sure the right people, you have your ICP, that avatar you're looking to hit, and then that's kind of the first step from there, and then moving on. But I do want to know your vision because I can hear this is your passion, and I can hear this is something that's going to be great. So like when you do think about the future and maybe like the next 6 to 12 months, where do you like see the project going, and where do you see the company kind of landing in your brain?
I mean, so I'm really excited on multiple levels. I mean, like I think once the people see what the Dean of Zen can do, I mean, like the AI is really where it's at because that's 24/7 access. It once they realize that like, oh, this can get me solutions. I can ask it anything. I can cuss at it. I can yell at it. I can tell it my frustration and it will adjust in an appropriate manner. And so that's like, I really would like to see the Dean of Zen scale. But on top of that, the classes that we're putting together,
Yeah.
which are a lot of them, which we're still figuring out kind of some of the variables, but a lot of them are superhero based because I find that like, people can connect with Hulk's like the battle between Banner and Hulk and centering yourself and becoming Professor Hulk instead of just smashing all the time or hating that part of you that's strong, like the intellectual part fights with the strong part. No, like merging those and becoming great. Like lessons like that, I think, and having interactive sessions in group settings, in group education settings, is really where I want that next level to kind of be because I think that that's the most productive. And when you get groups together, everybody starts to see they're not alone. You
Yeah.
always think that it's just you that feels this way, but in groups, you see, oh, wow, you feel that way too. That's your struggle too. So, yeah.
Yeah. And that it's always the first word that pops into my head, when people mention groups or it's like the camaraderie that comes with it. As you say, you've got that like-minded people. Everyone's kind of, although you have your own issues and your own goals, everyone's in that kind of boat together. We know what's going on. We're in the process. It's just a lot of trust, which I find such a beautiful concept that comes from the group coaching as well. Just leaning on people that are going through a very similar situation, is such a nice aspect. And I suppose like, when you see that kind of moving forward and as when it takes off, like what is the end goal for you then? If we're gonna move on to superheroes, I want to hit Endgame. I want to move
No,
forward. I love
I
the
mean,
concept as well. Tying that two
I,
together just
I
makes
mean,
sense.
in game is going to be, Mind Max Brain Fitness
Yeah.
Academy, like across the board, where we have the modules, the meetings once a month that people come to, we interact, and then eventually, events like speaking
Yeah.
events and big gatherings of people that like, I mean, that's how you have the largest impact and it becomes contagious. And I think that like our brain fitness approach is like unique in that a lot of people don't realize that it's the same as working out. Once you explain it and bring it up, they get it, but no one ever puts the two and two
No,
together.
they don't. They don't correlate at all. And it is actually for me more important than working out because yeah, you work out for your body, but honestly, you work out your brain and everything else will follow because as you say, you're in the good place. You think of the good things, you listen to good music, you watch good stuff on TV and avoid the news, then you'll be fine. And it's just let's get that stuff
And the
moving forward.
freedom that comes with it, that's what I
Freedom.
love when you can like when you let people know. So to
Yeah.
kind of go back, that's one of my first assignments that I give people is like 50 amazing things about them.
I
And
love
people have such a hard time. Like I've had people just in tears, angry at me, like why would you do this, like this is pride, this is like, I'm like, no, like you could do it for everybody else. Why can't you do it for you? Like, why
that.
don't you see that? And then that's what you have to, when the brain goes into fight or flight and it sees all those weaknesses, like the zit on your face or the when you forgot to do something and it just ruminates about that, you have to counter it with the amazing things about you. And it's also interesting to see that most of the time people won't look at the great things about them that like, if they're a good cook or they're handsome or they're strong, or they'll be like, oh, I'm a good mom, I'm a good wife.
Yeah.
and I'll be like, nope, this has to be about you. And the growth that comes and the power that comes when people start to identify the power that is in the positiveness with them, it's a game changer.
Yeah, I love it. And I've got one final question to ask you, Dustin, before we log out. So, if you could go back in time and you to a younger self, and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't back then, what would you say to yourself?
Find Rashida Dean and marry her the first time. That's
Yeah.
my life. Having a supportive wife
Oh, beautiful.
that gets it too. My wife's Somali, so it's really been cool that our worlds have joined, and
Yeah.
like I've learned so much, and it's just, I would say that would have to be the single. Everything would have been resolved in my life had I met her when I was young.
How beautiful. And Dustin, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out to work with you, connect with you, and just find out more about all the amazing things you're doing?
So www.deanofzen.ai is the best place. Also, Dustin, Dean of Zen, Dean on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. It is a good place to go. Those are the two. Deanofzen.ai and LinkedIn, I would say, are probably the two most prevalent, but I'm all over the place.
Sick. I love it. Amazing. And thank you again for joining us, Dustin. It was such a pleasure to have you here.
Olivia, thank you so much. This has been amazing.
No, you're amazing. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to go and check out Dustin, not Justin, Dustin, and the Dean of Zen. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing, and we will see you on the next one.